Here we go.
Today is February 3rd. This is the Policy Advisory Committee. We will start with attendance, go around the room and say who's here. Rob, we'll start with you.
Sure. Rob Mezzanotte, Assistant Superintendent.
Andrew Hennius, Legal Counsel for the committee.
Kenny Dubas, Superintendent.
Erin Earl, School Committee Chair.
Jennifer Lima, School Committee Member.
Rachel Santa, Director of Student Services.
Okay, thank you all. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. I do not see anybody here. Did everybody have the opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting on January 6th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we basically have three policies or groups of policies to get through. Michelle, do you want to do transportation first, Ken, since Michelle's here?
Yes.
So at the last meeting, we had made some changes, and then you all were going to review and come back to us.
Mm-hmm.
And were there any changes to the changes?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at what was recommended or asked. So it was just one note just for us to put in the purpose to mention pre-K. I know we mentioned preschool further down in the document. I'm just recalling regarding IEP services.
Which one are we in?
Are we the student transportation services?
The 1625?
Yes.
Because it says K-12.
It does say K-12, so I'm putting a note under purpose, because we have it in here.
Just change it. I think I originally had written that because of the law.
Yeah,
like,
I just want to go back because we reference preschool under accessibility and eligibility accommodations. We do have that there, so we could put something under the purpose.
Yeah, and we also could change it to have it say the purpose of the school transportation policy for NKSD is to ensure, like it just says K-12 because it's like generic for, then that solves the problem in general.
That's right. Because we put the.
You're on something that.
Well, I am. So what I did was I sent down a different document because I didn't want them making changes to
Got it.
ours.
I was like, you are definitely
I'm-
not in the same document.
No,
as me.
I'm not in the same document as
I'm
anybody.
going back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm going back and forth between the two from what recommendations
So
we
I'm in
received.
a document that Jen's in, and that
So-
Rob is not even, but Andrew's not in.
No, I'm not. I'm in a document all by myself.
It's called Student Transportation Services, January 6, 2025. It's at the
Come
bottom.
join us, Andy.
Yeah, I'm trying desperately to.
Do you want me to share it with you?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Okay. It should pop in the top of your box now.
I just don't want to put something on the purpose regarding preschool and it confuses because not all preschool students.
No, I think we
receive
should just take it
transportation.
out. I think we should just have it say the purpose of the student transportation policy for North Kingstown School Department is to ensure. Just take out the K-12.
Mm-hmm.
It's just generic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could do that.
So then problem solved. Because it's super valid, but like you can't just say it easily. So just I don't think we need to be specific there.
So then the next comment on page 8, I think it's page 8 of the document, under communication.
I'm gonna put page numbers in.
When you're scrolling through, it comes up as 8 of 13. It's under communication, parent and guardian notification. One person said, who is required to do this? It says parents and guardians will be notified of any delays, accidents, or changes. That should be coming out of the consultation.
Wait, sorry. Where are you?
So it's under communication.
Yeah.
On
I
page
believe it's page 8.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I'm on.
Towards the top. Well, yeah, so you have communication systems, weather and traffic alerts, communication.
So you want to add who's responsible for it?
So if we put who's responsible, and that was to know who's making those notifications, it should be coming through the transportation
So
department.
notified by the transportation department of
By,
any delays.
yep, by someone in there.
Got it. Thank you. Oh, I see.
Okay.
And then next one. Ooh, shoot. Hold on. I just.
You can see all the people at the top. And you get to the table.
I clicked on a comment and I rejected it, so now it's not showing where the comment's supposed to go. But the comment was to it says replace one with K. So now it's going to stay on the screen. So under the eligibility for student transportation on page 4, sorry, this comment bounced back up to the beginning.
Yep.
We have kindergarten 5/8 of the mile, and then we have elementary grades 1 through 5. But what do we have on the?
Why don't you just make it K through 5?
Hmm.
That's allowed. It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
Combining the two.
Mm-hmm.
Is it kindergarten 5/8 of the mile, elementary grades 1 through 5, and just have it be K through 5,
Okay.
and then get rid of the first.
Okay.
bullet. Someone suggested putting preschool in there. I would leave preschool out only because that's different. That is strictly
IP.
decided upon by IEP.
Yeah, I think we covered
and
that
that's
the last
usually
time.
curb to curb. So,
Yeah.
and which is down later in the document, I believe. Sorry, I'm going backward between two documents. The next comment. So I did that one. Did that one. Is required. Okay.
So let
So
me,
someone put on here a comment under, so this goes back, this is page 2 of 13. Under staff, where we have it defined of roles, under the supervisor of transportation that has responsibilities. One person suggested that that person should also determine the protocols of how to handle any type of behavior on the bus. I'm not sure I would say that falls solely on the supervisor for that. I think that is something that we need to have as part of our general procedures of behavior and discipline, part of the student handbook, or that goes into the section of the policy about behavior on the bus and what's expected. I wouldn't just have that as the responsibility of the transportation supervisor for that, because the school bus is an extension of the school.
so we said we were
And
going to
so-
move like conduct on the bus to the student conduct policy. So I would say that's where that would
Right.
belong.
And when an incident happens on the bus, that incident gets reported back to the building principal,
Yep.
and then they
Yep.
then will investigate and see what happened, determine
Right.
if there's any action that needs to be made. Someone suggested, which I wouldn't necessarily do this, but under bus monitor, the definition of bus monitor, we have in here, in the middle of that paragraph, bus monitors are also responsible for taking attendance, and then it goes on with that, and it says, in accordance with Rhode Island General Law 1621-1, bus monitors are required for transportation provided to children enrolled in grades kindergarten through 5. Someone had asked us to strike bus monitors are required, but they are required.
They are
So
required.
we need to keep that in there. I just wanted to say that. And those are all the comments that we received. Michelle, you received something
About
separate from drivers,
one
contractors.
of the drivers on cell phone policy, so we don't really have anything on here on cell phones. But it would go back to student conduct, right, because it's an extension of the school day, so
Right.
maybe if we could reference it or make just sure that it's referenced in here about cell phones.
About not using them?
About-
or, like, responsible conduct?
Responsibility.
It was responsibility and not, basically, I think what you explained to me, not using the cell phones on the bus. I mean, cell phones are not allowed to be used in school. They do have their phones with them on their bodies and their bags while they're on the school bus. The concerns are they take the phone out, if they're taking pictures or video of other kids, they might be on the phone and not paying attention of when their bus stop comes. I think it's similar when they take out their Chromebooks and they go on their Chromebooks while they're on the bus. We just want to make sure that students are paying attention, but also if they have those devices, they're using them appropriately too.
So there is no current policy that covers that, correct?
So I have to go back and see what.
I don't believe the cell phones there is in here, but there must be one in student conduct.
I don't think cell phones are covered in there. It doesn't say anything in the current student conduct on bus policy about phones or Chromebooks.
And I don't think we don't have any specific policy.
I'm looking for a cell phone, even just a general cell phone policy. I don't see one
No,
yet.
we don't have one, but I'm not even seeing where in any of our policies where that would be.
So I would say that's something we can discuss when we get to the student conduct policy. So as far as this policy, are there any other changes to the document that we're currently looking at?
I don't have any other changes.
I thought we had talked about taking out the thing about or I thought there had been some questions around the student transportation part. It doesn't look like. I think we definitely want to reference our current policy on this.
What page are you on?
What's that? Page, I don't know, page 10? 10. Because I feel like this is kind of in conflict with our current policy, which is not on the agenda, so we can't talk about it, but is the verbiage that's in here,
Which verbiage are we talking about, Jen?
like the student transportation part,
On page
So
10?
where it says parking on school grounds.
Oh, okay.
That
and the
paragraph.
student operated transportation to school.
Okay. Students must have valid driver's license to adhere to all traffic laws when driving. Must have written permission regarding RMU required for student traffic.
So this policy is student transportation services. I'm still kind of like not thinking that this belongs in this
Okay,
policy.
that's why I am asking, because I
Yeah,
want to
because
make
this
sure
is
that,
specific on student transportation services, the services we provide. I
Yep.
don't think we should be touching upon students driving to school in this policy.
so that would be the same thing for parent and guardian transportation as well.
Because it's both the services we provide. And I think some of that's not policy, it's more procedural and like, here's what we expect you to do versus it being a policy.
I mean, it's to ensure safety accessibility, and efficiency. So like, yes, but what part are you considering taking out?
I had questioned the student transportation part because we have a policy that covers it, and my concern was that it clashed with that, and that we should just refer out to that policy.
What page?
10?
Is all of that stuff in that other one though, Jen?
That one's not on the policy. I thought we had taken all this out the last time. I mean, that one's not on the agenda, so we can't talk about it. But that one covers like what the procedure and process is for students who are given permission to drive to school.
Yeah, if it's duplicate, you can definitely take it out.
We do have, yeah.
So we're deleting all of that? Those two sections, these two?
I think so. And then if we take that out, what about the parent and guardian transportation? That feels like it doesn't, like if we're saying this is our stuff. Does that belong in there?
It doesn't live anywhere.
Yeah, I think that speaks to me more of a procedural expectation than
I think
necessarily.
that needs to go like in the student handbook, right? Handbook somewhere
Okay.
when we're sending out information regarding traffic patterns. You know, just like when the principals send out their newsletters or updates, the high school has sent that out. You know, that's
This
the
isn't saying
expectation
what,
we
it's
put
saying
in.
that they need to follow it. So that if they don't follow it, you have mechanisms to support you, but if you don't feel like you need that support from policy, then we can delete
I
it.
think the policy's on the transportation services that we provide, and then we're getting into what students are doing when they're driving, and then this section is what parents and guardians are expected to do. And I just,
To me, it's student transportation services. I think I see the policy different than you. Like, I don't just see it as the transportation we provide. I see it as student transportation services, and parents and guardians are part of that. I can buy the taking the student part out because it's somewhere else. Like, I don't want repetitive whatever. But for this one, like, I personally would want you to have policy level support. But again, if you don't need it or don't want it, just take it out. But like, it's nowhere else, like, for sure. And it's just two sentences that basically says, please follow what the schools say. But if you don't want it in there, like, I definitely would defer to you on it. Delete?
hold on, no, I'm looking at, I'm going back to the beginning of the policy. Should we move it up towards the philosophy? I'm just looking this in the flow of it and where it is, because we talk about what we believe in, what we're providing, and then that statement is about ensuring that parents and guardians are following what we're saying we're providing.
It's
and
under
what
the section of
those-
expectations and discipline. Like, it's under, like, I think expectations, but we could move it. Well, you think about that going back to the beginning. Are we good on the schedule language, Michelle, on page 2? You had added, I think, the language in about the bus routes, perhaps?
Yes.
So I can make that black. Oop, not that black. What? And then on page 4, you all had added the school department will send out an opt-out form for all families prior to the start of the school year under eligibility. That red language, is that good to become black?
Sorry, what page are you on
2? 4. I'm just going in order of like
Okay.
what's not rectified while Ken thinks about
Okay.
what we want to
Yeah,
put
we'll
that
just
other
leave
piece.
that where it is.
Yeah, like there's not a perfect spot, but again, no problem if you want to delete it either.
Just
Yeah.
leave it where it is.
It's just a sentence and then it gives you a little, like if something weird happens.
Yeah.
So the part I'm talking about is page 4. There's a red sentence the school that you all wrote. I just wanted to make sure that we're good on putting that to black. The school department will send an opt-out form for all families prior to the start of the school year. Yeah, I think you all wrote it to be like based on the comment that I just deleted. So I'm just gonna put that. On that page, there's a 1621 1-A in like a weird blue. Do you know why? Yeah, it's listed on the bottom, so people's it says it like in that parentheses on the bottom, but that also looks weird. Like it's not in the same font. Can you look?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, that it's just a generic statute that says a city or town shall provide suitable transportation, including but not limited to pupil transportation vehicles to and from schools for pupils attending public and private schools of elementary and high school grades.
I mean, we already referenced that, so.
I think we just take it out. Maybe it was just put there because of language that was being used, but I would.
And this too, can I delete that part too? That's how that I highlighted.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Next page, we'll change that. It looks like you all had some edits to that bus stop language, so we'll clean that up. Okay, anything on your other doc from page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
No, we already went through the
Okay.
comments.
Perfect. And then
So that,
this bus ride, stop 1, prolonged for after school, care changes, and urgent/emergency change. Are you all good with that?
Yeah.
Which one? I'm sorry.
No worries.
The we're on page 6.
We're on page 6, Michelle. It's right underneath the bus ride/stop change request. It's the first 2 that I've highlighted. I'll make them red for you again. Just double check that you're good with that. Do you need me to bring something to me?
Yep.
Alright, so we'll make that back. Safety drills, I had put a note in, it's school year, not calendar year, correct?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. And then down on page 9, there's the after school activities part.
Transportation bus there. Is there policy on that?
Well, so no, the part that my comment. So I think in our last conversation we were talking about it, and we were talking about how sometimes I think Michelle had given an example of like sometimes they'll take the bus there, but then parents or guardians will take something back, which I'm fine with. But I didn't know. Well, I'm fine with it if we have the right things in place, right?
Yep.
Like knowing where students are and how many are coming back on the bus, etc. But I didn't know. There's no policy on it anywhere, so I didn't know if you all wanted to add a sentence to
It
this.
goes back to athletic handbook. Because what is supposed to happen if you are taking your child home, you have to send an email to the coach, so the coach has it verified of where the child's going.
So do you want to reference in this after-school activities one the athletic handbook, or?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now just to make sure that it's.
And again, if you all don't want to include it in this policy, that's fine by me. We had talked about it, and I wanted to make sure if we did want to put something in, this would be the space in this after-school activity part. And
So
then
in the athletic handbook on page 8, under travel, it says all athletes are required to travel to and from out-of-town games with the team on the school-provided transportation. Permission may be granted by the coach or the director of athletics to allow an athlete to be released to his or her parent or guardian if such a request is received in writing or in person from the parent or guardian prior to such release.
Andrew, what's your opinion from like a policy language?
I don't think there's any problem, please see, or please also reference the athletics handbook for
This
specific.
isn't just about athletics, so that's the only
Oh,
like
it's
pause that
after-school
I'm taking.
activities.
Yeah, like it's more general. I feel like it would be the same for anything though. Like you're going to a debate club
I would think you need to
thing,
let the teacher know.
you
or
have to let
yeah.
the adult know in advance, right?
Can I copy and put something in there?
Please do. That sounds no, like in a good way. Like that. I think that's good, but I think we should just make it generic across the board, but the same vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel, going down a little bit on that same page, there was a part about, do we want to add language about IEP? So I don't know if, could you look at that summer program section and make sure it's what you would want it to be?
I saw that, yeah, hold on, let me get there.
No worries. It's on page 9 at the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm going to change that to student school year.
Oh, you went past it.
I know, I
Oh,
just-
there you go.
And then Michelle, can you just double check that late bus section to make sure you're good with that?
We'll just put that last sentence in there.
The only thing about extended school year is that we have to offer, not may be offered. It's required by law that we provide transportation.
Yeah, I'm looking for the sentence to that, like it's for certain students, right?
Yeah, extended school,
So that's what I'm
determined by the district individual education program team or something like that.
Yeah. Could you just add?
As determined,
Yeah,
do
you
you want me
could
to add right
literally.
in?
Yeah,
I
you
don't
could
know
literally
how
type
that's
where you think it should go. Ken, for that after school activity one, the language that you just added, does it have the other language
No,
about
you're in
like?
the wrong place.
Where is it?
Right.
There you go.
Oh, it's your, I see someone's prompt, I thought it was mine.
No.
For that top part,
What color am I?
do
Just
you
do it to go
have?
back.
Does it have the
You're
other
brown.
sentence about like
I'm
students
brown.
should
Go for
go to
further.
and
There you
from?
are.
Can you see me?
Yep, I
Okay.
saw you.
I saw the, okay, there
There
we
you
go.
go.
You know what I mean? Like I think it's missing that one sentence of like students are whatever you read from the athletic one about like students are required to go to the event and back on the event on the bus, and then that sentence. I think we just need to add that middle sentence. Thank you.
I'm not good at
Michelle, you good with the late bus stuff?
It was good, yes.
Rachel, though we do provide some transportation to students that don't have IEPs for extended school year. Like we're required to do it for
For
students
these,
that have it,
right, yeah.
but I think we just need to edit it a little during this summer.
Maybe these buses provide a safe and reliable way for students to attend summer
Oh, I know.
courses. I think we might want to say to receive
Hold on,
their
I don't-
special education services, attend summer courses, etc.
Might be nitpicking, but permission may be granted by the coach or advisor to allow a student to be released to the parent guardian. Such a request received in writing. I would imagine that would also be true if like they were going there in addition to going home. It's nitpicking.
I know.
Using me. You sure you want to put it right that way?
Dropped off by
I can kind of wordsmith it. Thank you.
Okay, I have this, Rachel. So I split the sentences. So
made
the
it
first sentence says
transportation.
may, and then the second sentence says will.
Can we just get rid of, students determined by the individual
Yeah,
education,
fix
but
the
I'll just
grammar,
get rid
yeah.
of the redundant student?
Yep. Alright, that individual, yeah.
We'll get rid of that.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, that's
I
perfect.
keep seeing someone else's prompt and thinking it's mine. Apparently I'm brown.
But when 6 people are editing a document at once, it's
I
usually
kept
what
trying
happens.
to be green, I think.
Not ideal.
I don't know who's green, but I kept trying to be green.
That's why I'm staying off it. I'm just watching.
I'm like you, I'm not
I was better off my own document, just back down
But
myself.
I can't say like, nothing's changing, that's
Okay.
because you
So
changed the
it's
word.
30 minutes.
No, I know.
Okay.
So did you all add this? I just have one question, Jen, and then we can move on. For item number on page 10 and 11. Is that what you want in this, or no? Did you not review it? Or did you review it? I'm not sure.
Personal items, decorations, and equipment on school buses. So in the first section where it says musical instruments, sports equipment, and other large personal items must be safely stored. I know that we say in our last policy, anything, a large instrument, meaning the cello, we've gone down this. It's still also like, even though it's not large, it's bulky and they can't store them, like snare drums. That was a big problem this year in the beginning of the school year as well. It hasn't been so much the remainder of this year. I think we've kind of cleaned it up and fixed it with everything that we've done. But I think we just need to be consistent because, like I said, they can't be, stored securely. There's no place to store them unless, because you can't fit it under the front of the seat and you can't put it in the aisle or prevent it from being in front of emergency
Is that not
exits.
covered as under musical instruments?
Yeah, Michelle, I knowing that we've had a lot of conversation about I review the language. I feel like the language covers it. I
can
think
take
it
out the word
does.
large.
Okay.
Do you want me to just have it say?
But then it says right above it, musical instruments, I think maybe because it's listed twice, or should be the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that we need. I think the language it gives a little leeway, which I think we need. You know what I mean? Given what we've seen, you know what I mean. There's been times where, depending on circumstances, things can
Correct.
work better than others. You know.
Or maybe
I
instead
took
of
out the word
musical,
large for you, Michelle, so that
Okay.
way, because I hear what you're saying, is that it might not be large, but
awkward
it's still
shaped.
not
Yeah.
Exactly.
working. So I took out the word large so that doesn't
And
hinder you in working
Especially
with
like
folks.
some of the buses are almost at full capacity, so to even bring
Right.
something, there's no space.
A lot of times that's what it comes down to. At least from what we saw, it's like
Yeah.
the capacity of the bus impacts what.
Yeah, can it go in the front
Instruments, yeah.
seat that nobody's sitting on the floor, or can it not?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you.
Okay. Anything else on any of
Under
that?
lights and
you have
decorations, the first bullet says students. I don't think we should just be signaling out students about prohibiting from affixing or displaying lights.
To me, it's usually been the bus driver.
Right, it is. It's the driver that's decorating their bus.
I think that specific sentence was taken from a policy that I was looking at about like sports stuff. Like it was something like that, and that's probably why. But you're not.
Seniors
Yeah,
kind of
you're
thing,
not
yeah.
wrong though. What if we just did?
or just say no,
It is like.
just say no affixing or displaying.
Everything else fine on this one? This part on page 10?
Mhm.
And then the last thing on page 11, did you all get to look at this part? I think we had a question about whether it was in a different...
It is in a different, it mentions that it exists in a different policy. But I'm gonna say that if that has not been reviewed, that we should not.
I would recommend taking it out of this and just putting, have a heading that says video surveillance on buses, and then have it reference that policy. I don't think we should have it in two places. That makes me nervous.
Yeah, and it does say, because this is on the agenda, so we can talk about it, but it does say that, in this policy, signage notification regarding use of surveillance cameras on school buildings, school buses, and our school grounds. So we do, like, reference it, so I would say if we want to beef that up, we should beef it up in here, not on the transportation policy.
What policy is that?
IJNDB.1.
IJNDB.1.
Yeah, IJNDB.1.
Surveillance policy.
Anything else on this one? I'm gonna leave this right now, but so you can copy and paste it and
Yep.
put it. So.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to move forward this policy with the changes that we discussed to the school committee.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you,
awesome.
Michelle.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, the next one is the group of attendance boundaries and assigning students to schools and districting and all of that stuff. Rob, I know you looked through it this weekend. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Or which one are we looking at?
So
Just I-
we're gonna go into under what is it? Attendance boundaries.
I'm in that folder.
Okay, so we can take, there's 1, 2, 3 that we need to look at. So I don't know.
Just tell me
Basically
which
cover,
document.
I'm trying to think, it covers admission, assignment of students to school, and then like redistricting. So why don't we take the admission/registration of students first, because that's the first.
So the February 2nd one. That
Yes.
says red line admission /
Yep. So what I did was I combined our policy JFAA, which is admission of resident students, and JFAB, admission of non-resident students, and just put them in one policy that covers admission of all students, and just kind of broke it out between the two. And then we had talked about adding something about the process for registering kindergarten, about the kindergarten registration process, because that doesn't live anywhere. Like, there's nowhere where somebody can go to and say, this is how I have to register my kids for school, especially in terms of like timeline and assigning it to school, because we've had those issues come up where people don't realize that it's like a first come, first serve. So I think that we need to add something in here about that.
Just to clarify, kindergarten is always accessible. Like the where space in kindergarten, like what school?
What
It's
school?
not just
yes,
just
yes,
what
yes,
school.
yes, yes. What school kids are going to?
All the kids get to go to a school.
Yes.
No, I mean like, but that does matter.
Important caveat, yes.
Yeah, so we need some guidance from Ken and folks on this yellow part, Jen, on page.
Yes.
See what part she's.
And then after that one would be the next one, which is the assignment of students to school attendance.
Wait, Jen, did we just want to finish this sentence?
If they,
I just wanted to point out, I found something in the policy statement you might want to look at as well.
okay,
It just talks about us enrolling after the legal closing of the North Kingston property has occurred. I think technically you want them to say after they've moved into the residence. I mean, you could buy a house here in North Kingston and close on it and never move in.
that's true.
Yep.
I mean, it's really where you rest your head. So that was just
Yep.
a suggestion.
Yeah, that is very.
Yep.
But also, yeah.
I feel like there's language about that in another policy too.
This is,
She's combining
I
them.
combine them, yes.
But so, how do we legally write that, Andrew?
You
It's
should
not
add
just
after
if you.
the legal closing of the North Kingston property has occurred and the family has moved in.
And has resumed or assumed residence.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say after that proof of residency will be required. So what is proof of residency?
Technically, a
usually
cable
utility
bill,
bills.
utility
Okay.
bill. If it's a lease, if you bring in the lease.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so that one's good.
So as far as kindergarten goes, how does it work right now? Like, is there a timeline? What do we want to say about?
Yeah, so I just put a comment to get that
Okay.
strictly from Joanne, because I don't want to put something in there. I mean, timeline typically opens around like right around now in February. It's rolling, so once we put it out there, we send the information out to families through the schools. It's on our website. It's open admission right through to the opening of the school year. It is first come, first serve.
Today. It opens today. Just saying, coincidentally.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we can definitely check with Joanne, but I think it's pretty
sit
clear.
with Joanne and just kind of bullet what that is,
Okay.
so they can get that in there.
Okay. Is there anything else about this? And are we comfortable with this just pending that information from Joanne?
To move forward.
Yep.
Yes. Is there anything in here, and maybe it's somewhere else, about pre-K?
Pre-K, I had a note in the other policy about it, because it talks about admitting.
That's fine. I just want to make sure it's somewhere policy-wise as well.
But I don't.
You probably should have it under here, because this is
Yeah,
admission
100.
registration of students.
I would think so, but if it was already somewhere, I didn't want to be duplicated. It's not.
No, we should put that. I would put it in here prior, like right above kindergarten. But
I put a placeholder. That's a different person to tag though, right?
yeah, I'll talk to Jackie about that. But
Okay.
all that I can grab and we can put that in there.
Jen, I'll make a motion to move it forward with the pending language from the admin about current policy.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so then after that one, it is, I think logically in my head anyways, the policy that is called assignment of students to school of attendance. And what I did with this one is I took our current policy, which is assignment of students to school, and then our other policies, which are establishing school boundary lines and deviating from those attendance boundaries, and put them all in one, so that like how students are put into a particular school is all in one policy.
Mhm.
And so the yellow highlights are my ones that I'm like, I don't know the answer to this, and we should probably talk about it. And so one of the things in here says, that the superintendent or designee shall review the enrollment of existing schools to determine if there's a need to revise existing boundaries or individual class assignments as necessary. And we want to put a timeline around that. Like, is that something that is or should be done annually?
What page are you on? Jen?
Sorry,
Page
I'm gonna add page numbers, but I think it's number 6, bullet 6.
number 6. Yep.
I'll add page numbers too. Then.
Okay. Superintendent designee shall review the enrollment of existing schools to determine if there is need to revise this regarding individual classes. Is there in there? That's right. There's need
It's
for
on
revision.
bullet. It's bullet.
Yeah,
number
this is
6
I
on page
was
1.
thinking about this. I would think annually.
I think it should
Number
be
six.
annually.
And then by approved by
Usually
the
by a
school
certain-
committee prior to the beginning of the school year.
I would say probably like March, if we're going to be making changes. Right? So we shall review the enrollment of existing schools to determine if there is a need to revise existing boundaries.
If it is determined there's a need for any
Because
revisions,
if we go any
proposed
earlier, I
changes
think that's
must be
too soon
approved.
for us to really know what our projections will be and the need.
So we're saying the March prior to the beginning of the school year that the changes will take place.
Yeah, by March. Probably March is the latest.
Well, so you need both
Is that gonna
though.
work?
You know that's in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
but like I think so. There's two things, right? There's big like things we already know, right? Like second grade, because it affects. You also have to think about the job fair stuff, right? Because if like you're gonna need like right now you have three second grades, and then you know next year likely you're gonna need three third grades, even though you only have two, right? Like those things you'll kind of know, but I do think there might be some things that you won't know in March, and so like the kindergarten example from this year, right?
Mhm.
We would not have known that in March, so I wonder if it's a
This is about boundaries.
Right.
No. It also
No.
says individual class assignments.
yeah, it's both.
Yeah, that the individual class assignments. Then
Yeah, that's why I was like boundaries March
Yeah.
maybe, but like
Yeah.
individual class assignments, that's trickier, right? And we could
I
just
think
put a
this should be-
sentence that
and
says
I think
prior
it,
to.
and I think it should be two separate things. I mean, revising existing boundaries and then determining individual class assignments are two different things. We don't determine individual class assignments until the summertime.
So then
Like,
it should
to
be
me,
two
that
different-
is not
just
even-
just for the record, all Jen was saying was annually. Like,
Yeah.
I guess like like we could leave it really broad,
But we do need a date for when, like, the school committee needs to be notified
just
by.
prior to beginning of school year. Like like I appreciate specifics often, but like if it's not possible, like I'm just thinking about that kindergarten situation. That was an individual class level problem, but also a district boundary level issue. Like
But I do
that-
agree. I do
yeah,
agree
so
that these
don't
are
box us in.
two very different
They're
things.
two different things. I
You
mean,
know,
I
the
look at
boundary-
this as existing boundaries. That's the work we're doing right now with the district.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about moving neighborhoods and lines to determine what neighborhoods
separate those sentences
go
if you
to
want.
what school. The assigning of individual class assignments, I mean, that happens in the summertime. The principals do that after the teachers all work and decide about placement of students and what teachers they're going to have. I mean, that
the only
to me are two very different.
So the first sentence is correct.
Actions.
That annually, the superintendent or designee shall review the enrollment at existing schools to determine if we need to change boundaries or individual class assignments. That's a true statement.
Mhm.
Okay. So then it's the next part, which if it's
I don't know if you
determined,
need. Can we get rid of the as necessary? It literally is redundant.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we don't need.
If determined that there is a need, then the next thing is when does notice of that have to be written?
But we don't go to the school committee to let you know like what we're doing about individual class assignments. To me, that's not something that would be in there of us notifying the school committee. If we're going to change the boundary lines, that has to go to school.
It would only matter if you needed additional teachers.
But that's different than assigning an individual class assignments.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
So I think the point of this is
It's the kindergarten at Stony issue. I think that's what it's
is
pointed
that-
towards. Not like you moved a teacher from second grade to third grade at Forest Park.
No, it's like-
but that's not
yeah.
school committee level,
this
but
is
like the bigger.
but that would be adding classrooms.
This
not-
exists, right? Like you didn't add. You didn't.
some of this language is
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's more like individual class assignments, not just like you moved like so and so from class A to class B, but like you had to add a new grade, or you
So I
had
think
to,
that's what we should say.
or
is
you had to
change it
move
then.
kids
so we need
out
to
of a
change.
school.
So the individual class assignment, was that in here? Is that the actual language that was
No.
in the current?
No.
That's new.
All right. So we don't.
So if we're talking about adding additional classes, adding teachers, that would be different than individual class assignments. So what we're saying is, if we're going to add an additional teacher,
yeah, how about we put like
or an
need
additional
of grade
class
level
in a
teacher,
grade,
need of additional, or need of grade
Additional
level
staffing
additions.
needs.
additional staff. I would just say of additional staffing.
additional staffing to accommodate student needs.
I mean that can happen at any point in the year that we're so to say that we need it by a certain time. I think it just needs to come to school committee for approval. Right? I mean, anytime we're adding staff, we come to the school committee to say we're going to add.
Let's go backwards for 1 second. So I think the purpose of the sentence is to give some timeline to like have an agreement basically between the administration and the school committee of like a guideline for timeline basically. Because I think the goal is to prevent families from finding out that their boundaries got changed really, really late.
Mm-hmm.
And you both are very family focused and student focused, and you obviously would do it as early as possible. But I think the goal of the policy is to set some framework as administration changes and school committees change. So I think it's not like to set unrealistic expectations, but I do think the sentence is trying to set an expectation that we're going to try to do this as early as possible. But like, I think what we need to figure out is what is that? Like, is it June? Is it August? Like, March seems way too early.
I guess my question would just be like, with you're talking about boundaries now.
Well, I'm talking about the sentence in general.
But I
If
still
we have to
think-
separate
I still
them, we
think we
can.
need to separate them.
All right, let's
Two
separate
different
them
issues.
so that
I
we
think
can-
let's deal with the revising existing boundaries first, because that's
Jenny, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
different than
Because
admin staff.
I just know that as we've seen, sudden changes can happen with regard to that. But boundaries, again, I could be off by this, but I feel like boundaries are more predictive in terms of needing to look at them and needing to change them. It's less likely to be something that happens like at the last minute.
minute, yeah.
The only thing
No.
that gets really wild is the kindergarten thing, because they have a whole bunch of kindergartners enroll late.
But that's going to be more of a
And we wouldn't know
class.
that until the summertime.
Yeah.
So annually the superintendent or designee shall review the enrollment at existing schools to determine if there is a need to revise existing boundaries. If it is determined that there is a need for revision, any proposed changes must be approved by the NKSD by blank prior to the beginning of the school year in which the changes will take effect. So what? Again, this is like kind of going along that like transparency versus angry parents and guardians screaming at us
Right.
versus realistic expectations for administrators, right? Like it's that triangle.
Mhm.
And so what do you think, like, in a perfect world?
I think if we're going to be changing boundaries, and that's what we're doing
Yeah.
now, I mean, we're working really hard so that we can get something to you in March. I think originally, I think that's kind of what we said, like a February, March deadline.
My
I mean,
personal
yes.
opinion, and this is almost like from my school committee perspective, but also from like my mom perspective, is like I think that students and parents and guardians need to know before the end of the school year.
Mhm.
I don't know if they need to know by March. Like maybe there's something in the middle, like April,
Yeah, we can say
May
April.
vibe. You know, like, and again, I would love it by March, but I don't want us to make wrong decisions
Right.
by
Well,
forcing
well,
it too
then
early.
let's
But I
go
do
with-
think, like, I would want to know, so if my kid was changing schools, they could say bye to the school, they could say bye to the principal, like
Why not
that
let's
sort of
do
June
last
vibe.
week of June.
Yeah, like, and I
So
wouldn't
why
want
don't
them to
we
find
say-
out, like, that week, so
Yes.
like
So why don't
April.
we say by the end of April?
Yeah.
Right? And
I think that's
way it gives us
realistic
time,
enough.
because we also need time to prepare for that too. That's why I was thinking like March, like there's a lot that we got to do as
Mhm.
well on our end.
Jen, do you think that makes sense from a school point of view?
Should we, just for the sake of the world being unpredictable, have some kind of language to like give us a little wiggle
When
room
necessary?
if
Yeah.
things need to be wiggled?
Yes.
You know?
If determined,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
should.
Just
If
never know when it
possible.
comes up.
Yeah, just because things can kind of go sideways sometimes. Just saying.
Really?
How do you say it? Should when possible is not the right, or
Any proposed changes?
any procedures be approved by the school committee by the end of it.
like I want to add a sentence that just says when possible, or
Yeah.
like, but there's a
Yeah,
legally
just-
word to say
Yeah,
it.
any proposed changes?
How about
But
this?
you could put shall be approved by the school committee by the end of April when possible.
Comma when possible.
I was looking for something a little fancier.
I know you were. I'm struggling to.
It's okay,
I
that's
know.
good
I know
enough.
exactly what you're looking for too, but it's not coming up.
Okay.
By the end of April when possible.
I think we need a period there.
If possible?
After when possible.
If possible.
If or when?
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing.
Is it?
I think so.
I know what is. What
How
I know
about
what
when
prior to.
possible, but no later than, like, does that give wiggle room or?
So something like a second date?
Yeah,
So by the end of April when possible, but no later than June 1st
yeah. Or the end of the school year.
or end of the school year.
Yeah.
I like end of school year.
There you go. Yeah.
And then you might pray for an extra snow day. So
But no later than the end of the school year. Right?
It still doesn't give you any, like, in theory, that doesn't give you wiggle room for, like, if you need to do something in August. which sometimes you have.
But are you gonna change boundaries in August?
We're not going to change boundaries.
I don't think we're gonna change boundaries in August. I think that
We
like,
might need to
Unlikely.
we might need to like add another classroom
Yeah.
somewhere, and
Yeah.
some students may need to go to a different
Yeah,
school because
but
of that.
as far as
But we're not going to
yeah.
change.
okay, so
boundaries
by the end of
because-
April, I'm gonna get rid of when possible because we added the but no later than the end of June, right at the beginning of the school year. There's gonna be a better way to say that sentence. Hold on.
Do we need prior to the beginning of the school year?
It's trying to
because
say
we already
like
have-
before the next year, but like in a, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because we already
I'm gonna
have
find a better
April and
sentence.
June in there. I mean,
Make this better.
so annually the superintendent shall review the enrollment as this determines the need for revises as well. If it is determined that there is a need for revisions, any proposed changes will be approved by the school committee by the end of April.
Oh, this is better. Hold on. I got it. And by I mean AI.
I was gonna say, throw it into.
Yeah, the 100%. But what it wrote is good, so
Will be approved by the
I'll put it
school
down here.
committee.
in which the changes will take effect is much clearer.
Okay, no later than June, prior to the school year, which the changes will take.
Is it closer?
Yeah, it's all right.
What would you like to change?
It's okay. I'm okay.
I can. Alright.
I liked when possible, but I don't want to fight over that. It's all good.
Well, the only part that's weird about when possible is then, but no later than the end of June. Like the when possible was, but let's see if we can. Right, I need to see. I got it. Okay. But no later.
Yeah.
But no later than, there you go.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay, nice compromise.
So,
Whoops, you got rid
No,
of
I know.
Okay.
Not on purpose. Okay. What's next?
So we took out the classroom assignment part, which is it's intended to cover new grades being added or kids being displaced from their homeschool, so that there's some type of if not timeline notification process.
So we need a
around
new
that.
bullet there.
Yeah.
Do you want something like students may be transferred to a different school, or when it is determined that their current placement no longer meets
No, more because that's covered in the
Yeah.
policy. More so annually the review happens from the boundary thing, right? But is there in theory annually the classroom are reviewed annually also, right?
mhm.
We're just saying it's a different process. So I guess the intent of it was when you have to add a new class, yes, you have to bring the teacher, but if you move 10 kids out of one school to another school, there's no, that doesn't come before the school committee even for notification. So it's just to kind of get some type of process around review and notification of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about review of, this is where we're talking about classrooms are maxed out.
Hold on, I want to make sure I understand this. So if I have to, we have to, I mean, if I have to make a decision, right,
Mhm.
that we are at a school, we're overcrowded, and I need to move a class over to, I'm just going to say from school A to school B. Before I do that, I need to come to in front of
No,
school
no.
committee.
She didn't say approval, she said notify.
So that notification most likely will be after that decision is made.
Jen, what's the problem we're trying to solve?
The problem we're trying to solve is that
I'm just
when
thinking
we
timeline-wise, I
when
can't
we've
be held
had-
up to a school committee meeting to be able to.
No. Okay, let me hear what Jen's
So
trying
the
to solve. and
thought
then we'll
process
see
when
what
we
can do.
talked about this was that again, going back to the kindergarten thing, there were a bunch of kids who were not being able to put in their school of choice or other grades, right? And so all that is happening here, and maybe that was if we had known about it, maybe that was a conversation that could have started earlier on the need for redistricting, or, you know, like, why are we doing this? Do you need additional resources? So it's more like not approval, but just kind of that there is something where the school committee knows.
I do think beyond that though, like, it's something about the student part of it, like when they get notified of that, that's more important to me than the school committee knowing about it. Like setting, and again, it's not about you all, it's about like the system. Like, what is an expectation of when students would find out, hey, we know that your home school is supposed to be Hamilton, but like you're not going to Hamilton, you're going to Stony. Like, I would like some language, policy language regarding the timeline for that versus when the school committee gets told about it. Like, I don't disagree with you, but like the student piece is the part that bothers me
The
more.
timeline, yes, yeah.
So we're looking
I don't
for
know
like
what the
a
solution
date
is,
we're looking to
but-
get that communication done by?
To families?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like, because I don't think it should happen a week before school
I
is
agree.
supposed to start.
I also know that, you know, and again, we have to think of the
Yeah.
worst case scenario, you know what I mean? I think we have situations that sometimes happen very unexpectedly. But I mean, for the just drawing off experience from last year's thing, that communication happens in, Yeah.
We were
It was
hearing
August.
some
It was the
things,
second week of August.
like
Yeah, it was
literally
August
like
when
the
we did
day
that.
before school was supposed to start though, and I think it's to try to get around
We call it special meetings
that.
to you know, like yeah, I think it's to try to prevent that
Right.
last minute rush
Well-
and stress on students.
Well, that was. Are you talking about when you were
Well, they
getting
get appeals, yeah.
right? So, but that was not. I mean, that was kind of like weeks after certain things happened. I mean, because then the appeal happens, then we schedule a meeting.
The appeals weren't
Parents
necessarily the same as this.
No,
Yeah.
I think that we
Yeah.
gotta kind of keep separate that when parents
Yeah.
are putting in the appeals. I mean, that was as a result of us moving, and then once they found out, and then it going to me, then going to you. I'm not sure how fast we can move in that type of a process. I think we ultimately, if we're going to making changes in the summer, that we're making those changes by beginning of August.
That's why I
As the
think
best
parents should be
possible.
notified
I
by,
mean, best possible situations by the beginning
Yeah.
of August, but
Mhm.
there also could be a chance that come mid-July, people are still coming in and registering, and then at that point, all right, what are we doing? Let's see what we have for resources. It may be after the beginning of August, but
I think if we as
Best
a rule
possible.
say that we're gonna notify parents of a change in school by August 1st, they get that, they noodle on it for like a day or two, and they're like, no, and then they come back to you, and then that gives time for the appeal to come to us if necessary prior to the day before school starts.
I like noodle.
Make sure to write that
I
in.
particularly like noodle on it.
Yeah. Okay, so annual superintendent designate shall review grade level capacity and determine determine classroom spaces according to student need.
How about annually, the superintendent designee shall review grade level capacity, make necessary adjustments to ensure optimal class sizes, and resource allocation for the upcoming school year, and notify affected students of any changes by August.
That's good.
Hold on, I'll put it in so you all can see it.
Not sure we want optimal class sizes. As we write it down.
I was thinking about like the union contracts. What I-
Contractual
like
Contractual
yeah.
class
I would just
sizes.
use
Yeah.
the
I
Yeah.
just
I
say
just-
contractual plus or just
Contractual.
size.
Yep.
You're like optimal. We're not at optimal.
Optimal
Well,
could
it's just-
be-
No, I know.
Optimal
It
may
means
not
different things.
align
I
with-
meant contractual. That's what I was getting at.
Should we say families instead of students, because the notification's coming to the families, not the students.
And we can change it how you want, but that was my attempt to have something so we could edit.
So then the next part of the policy talks about reasons to not have a child in their homeschool. And it would be either because of instruction that's needed at one school that can't be provided at the other, that's under instructional stability. Relieving overcrowding, which is one that we've talked about, and then it outlines like the order that those changes would occur so that there's a clear process for how that happens. And then the other one is special permission, which is kind of what we see now, where parents are requesting that there be a different school assignment.
There's also placement by the IEP team.
That goes under instructional stability.
Instructional stability, okay.
Yep.
Just wanna make sure.
Yeah, so if they're going to this because there's a program there, that's covered under that part.
Yeah.
Just wanna make sure.
Rachel, if you wanna look at that
Make
language
sure it was
though,
all
under page
covered.
2.
I'll look at it.
It's on page 2, right there, just look and see what you might want to tweak for that. Is regular school the right word, or is it home, like, what's the word we use for, like, where you're supposed to go?
I call it the neighborhood school,
I
Or
call it
zone
homeschool.
school.
but see, the homeschool for special ed is a little bit different. Homeschool is the district.
I
Yeah, I wouldn't do
I know.
homeschool. I would say student enrolled at their
Assigned school?
Assigned
school
boundary,
assignment,
it's
yeah,
like
or assigned
boundary.
school, yeah.
Right, just their school of assignment.
But
Yes.
when you could be assigned a different school than your homeschool, so that's kind of the point of saying like where you should be versus where you've been put is to designate like you should be in
Yeah.
Stony Lane, but
Yeah.
we've moved you to Fishing Cove. Technically, you're now assigned to Fishing Cove,
Gotcha.
so it's your like.
so student enrolled
It's
at
your boundary, like where you're.
their boundary defined school of assignment. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's what I call
the
it, neighborhood
closest
school.
boundary.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to our staff, that's how I differentiate it, just.
Okay, so I changed that, Jen.
I think it's fine, the structure stability
part's
looks
fine.
fine, yeah.
Students outside of regular school assignment require certain education programs. So, and this is where, and I apologize if I'm being difficult with this one, but like I was just kind of trying to clarify this student. So this is the order in which a student would be considered.
So let's say you can only fit 15 kids and you've got 20, so you've got to move 5 of them out, right? So
yeah.
first ones who get to stay are the ones who are like
Supposed to, yeah,
Supposed to be
zone to be there,
right.
yeah.
Next one
Zoned?
is
Yeah.
students who need to be there because of a educational or instructional thing. You
Gotcha.
keep those
Okay,
next.
all right. Next
And
would
then,
be,
yeah.
okay.
Then you look to keep
Siblings,
siblings,
yep,
right?
siblings, okay. Incoming new students enrolling in their regular schools prior to July 1. Okay, so then it's the order thing.
Yep.
Students enrolled by special permission. Okay, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I think I was reading it like.
I'm confused about students outside of their regular school of assignment who are required to be a certain educational program or service. I'm confused by that being in the list.
Because you don't want to, like, because what we're saying is if you don't live at that school, right, you're going to be at the top of the list to get booted. But if you need to be at that school because of educational program that can only, like,
Okay.
that gets.
But the IEP wouldn't trump.
The IP trumped number 1 to be
Yeah, I
that's
think
okay.
so
So
too.
then let's
I think
move
so
on.
too.
Honest with you, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It really has.
I don't think it actually
has
should
to
be in the
so
list
limited.
because it's not a conversation.
Spaces.
Like if they have
Yeah.
to be at a certain program, they're at that program.
I think more for transparency, like,
Yeah.
because if I was a parent and I knew that somebody
Yeah.
didn't belong to
yeah,
that
yeah.
school,
I
I
mean-
would want to know why that
I
kid
agree
didn't
with
get
that.
booted.
I almost think that should be like outside of the list and just should be added on as like a as like a caveat to like that. All like students on
Any student placed
specific
pursuant to an IEP.
Yeah. Always,
I see what you're saying.
You know,
Takes
or
precedent.
504 will not be moved.
right.
So add that like to the instructional suitability, like.
And I would add the 5-4 because you never know.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I would almost put because it's really not part of that.
Yeah.
It's not part of that sequencing.
I hear what
you know?
Jen's saying though, because
But you want
like
people to know
if students, people are looking and saying, "Well, why is Bobby here? Bobby doesn't live in the neighborhood."
Right.
that. Right.
Like I see what Jen's saying,
No, they
and
do
No, you
say
should
obviously
that.
we
definitely
would
put
disclose
something in
that.
there so
Yeah,
parents know.
I
and you
would want to keep the
point to
language
that.
in there. I just,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
would
want
move it
people
up
to
to
think
that.
like they could be removed. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
So that's what I was nervous
Yeah.
about. I didn't want them to think that they exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll move that.
They do ask that question. They also ask why can't they just hop on the bus with them? Right.
So then. Didn't we? I think we need to put something. So say 10 applications come in on July 1, and we only have spots for 5. Then what? Like, I'd be like, well, I got it in prior to July 1. Why? Like, no. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, we need some language of like, is it in the order of, like, if I apply on July 1 at 102 and somebody applies at 103?
This
Comes
says
in as
based
first
on the
and
enrollment
first
of that
come,
particular school, so yes.
First come, first served, 'cause
when they
it's-
submit their
time's not.
registration.
Yep.
She's
We can add time
Yeah.
based on the date and time of enrollment at that particular
Yeah, that's what,
school.
like, I think I think we need a way to, if 10 came in and we're picking 5, how are we picking those 5? It could literally be random. Names get thrown in a hat and we pull them out. Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
As long as there's something that people
I want
know.
something
Yeah.
that they know how we do it.
Timestamp is good.
you go by
Timestamp is good.
Well, and it's electronic, right? So.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. All right. So Jen, did you add that?
Yep, I added time.
Where?
well, and even if it's not, I mean,
Under
they come
each
in,
situation that
she's
falls
putting
under
it
one of the
down.
above sections is subsequently prioritized against others within that situation based on the date and time of enrollment at that particular school. It's the paragraph right below it, before special permission.
I feel like that sentence should go before that list. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Like,
you want me to move it up?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like there.
Okay.
I think you could do a period for after exists, and then
Yeah, I'll go back and.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
so. When does it open?
February-ish.
When does registration?
Yeah, but like, I'm not just talking. That's kindergarten.
So kindergarten, otherwise registration at any point.
Yeah.
If you're moving into the district and you have a student that's whatever grade, you come in, you register. Because you could be moving into the district at any point. It's only the K registration that we start.
But this is about student school reassignment,
Correct.
not assignment.
Not assignment, reassignment. This is talking about moving kids out of, like, if you don't fit in your assigned school, this is how it works.
So if I move into North Kingstown on August
We're not
1,
going to move students that have been in that school.
Right, well, that's what it says.
It's only
but
if it's
yeah.
new students.
Yeah. If you move in on August 1st, you're top of the list to get
Mhm.
booted out of your home school because you came in.
Right. And
on
if you're coming August 1st, at that point, we know that the school's capped or not.
Mhm.
And we're telling you at that point, here's where you're going.
And then that's when all this, I get a whole bunch of enrollments.
I mean, even in July, I mean,
It's,
last
no,
week,
I
Julianne
had
was
them the
telling
week
people
before school started.
that's
The week after school started. Yeah, it's tricky.
So Jen, it says like reassignment, but it also could just be assignment. You know what I mean? Unless you're like, you know, like following is priority use to determine student school reassignment. So like,
Well, the reason why it's reassignment is because technically, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you stay at your home school, right? And if you're moved out, it's temporary for that year and it has to be reviewed. So again, it's a reassignment. Like
Yeah.
you would be assigned to school A,
Yeah.
but you didn't fit there this year. We're gonna move you, but that's
So
still
we
your
so
home school.
so we call that an involuntary transfer.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Because I'm thinking back what we actually tell parents, so they're voluntarily transferred out. So I think that's what we should. The following order of priority will be used to determine students' school will be used to determine when students are involuntarily transferred.
Jenny, like instead of the reassignment, right? So is this saying that a student who, like, my students, like, boundary school would be studying lean, but I've requested that they go to Knesset.
That's the next one, special
But what-
permission.
That's number 5.
That's a voluntary transfer.
Yep.
So you're saying number 5's get placed on July 1. So like you would get confirmation, yes, you can stay at Stony Lane. And then if a newer enrolling student comes after that, they wouldn't get the spot, even if your boundary school is Stony Lane. That's how I'm reading it.
No, because those, oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It could be like that.
Yeah,
To give students stability. Like, it could be.
I
I
mean,
would defer to Ken and Rob on that one.
yeah.
Do you understand my question? I want to rephrase it.
Yeah, rephrase it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Where are you right now?
No worries. I'm on page 2.
Yeah.
I'm on bullet 5.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Because there's 2 changes that we have to make today, and I feel like you all need to review these a little bit more.
What's your suggestion? Before
That we
decision.
pause on this so that we can get the 2 changes that we have to make done.
What are the 2 changes that we have?
One is to the FERPA policy and one is to the inclement weather policy.
I was wondering why the inclement weather was on here.
What's that? Yeah.
Those are, we have to because of.
Well,
what are
the communication going out from the school is different from what the policy is, so I think we need to like align those 2 together. And the other one we have to make a change to the FERPA policy and remove students' hometown on there. I mean, your place of birth. I don't know how that slipped through, but we need to get that off. Take that off.
Yeah, we can hold off on this one. And then why don't we hold off on this? Let us go back and look at this, especially this section here of what.
And the other policy too that goes along with this.
I thought they already had reviewed it. I'm confused.
What's that?
I thought this had already been reviewed.
I did review it, but I
Alright.
think I need to look at it more.
Well, and I think we looked at it, and then more and more questions are coming up.
I asked for it to be reviewed.
Yeah, okay, no,
It
that's
doesn't
fine. I just
feel
wanted to
like
understand.
No, it was
Yeah,
reviewed.
no, I know
As
you
we-
did, because you
yeah.
asked me
No.
questions, but I feel like maybe Ken needs to, like.
I'm just
Well-
like we're
Yeah,
as
that's
we're
fine.
going through
It's
this.
fine, yep.
It's just more and more things are
Yep.
coming up.
I think part of it
This
too was like having the discussion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was, we thought we would need that.
Yeah.
You know,
No
just to.
Let me just explain my question, Jen, so that Ken
Yep.
can think about it. So, Ken, the question is on page 2, on number 5. It says that the order of like assignment would be students enrolled by special permission. So that to me means my boundary school is Stony Lane. I like to go to Quinnesset. That situation, right? Like where they've requested special permission to go to a school that's not their home school. So the way that it's listed right now, it says that those students will be placed in on July 1. So you would get confirmation, yep, you're cool, you can stay at Stony, or you can stay at Quid, or nope, sorry, you have to go back to Stony, right? But then it says that newer incoming students that were enrolled after July 1, like they would, even if there was that student that shouldn't be at Quid, they should be, like, they would stay and the other student would be moved somewhere else. So that is a question to you all, is that how you want it to work?
So in other words, the student who wants to stay at the school they're not supposed to be
Yeah.
at, if that person has higher level of priority than
A new student.
No,
new student?
yeah, like you got told that you're gonna go to Quid instead
Yep.
of Stony Lane. You're
Yep.
like, okay, great, we're good. And then I move in and I'm supposed to be at Quid.
and there's not
And there's not room for both of us.
move them back.
That's what we're asking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so right
I
now
would say-
it's not
I would
moved them back after July 1. So before July 1 could get moved back. After July 1, no. So that's what we want to, like, I don't care how it's written. I just want you to be really
So
confident. in what we're
my
writing.
my take on it, and again, this is just me
You-
talking
yeah.
off the top of my head a little bit, but like, is that if you're not zoned for the school, the understanding, if you're going to a school that you are not zoned to go to, and you're doing so by special permission, the understanding always is that is a temporary status, right?
Yep.
And that if there are circumstances that come up that don't allow that to happen anymore, that can be changed.
Yep. So I guess the question is, when can it be changed? Is it the day
Um,
before school? Or is it, you know what I mean? Like, I
So-
think that's what, and I
yeah.
do not care what the answer is. You and Ken can talk about it. And
Sure.
But like, I think it's just setting
My
what
feeling
that
can
is.
be that can be changed before up to the beginning of school.
I think that's tough for
I
like
think,
buses and
it's-
Michelle.
sure,
And, you know,
it's-
like maybe there's.
yeah.
But so you all work it
Yeah,
through
it
and just
doesn't-
report
yeah.
back. But right now, how it's written is that after July 1,
That
the student wouldn't get sent back to their boundary school, no matter who moves into the next school's district. So you all can decide what you want it to be, but that's how it's written currently. Hey Jen, what do you want us to do?
Okay, so can we switch over to the FERPA policy, please? And the only thing that I am proposing that we change on this is under the directory information, that we remove date and place of birth.
I am not against it, but why are we doing that again?
Because I am concerned that if we're listing place of birth, FERPA information is, you can get that without, anything that's
This is
designated
directory
as directory information can be released to a third party without parental consent.
Mm-hmm. It's not covered by FERPA?
No, if it's directory information, you can just release it. You don't have to get
So
consent.
taking it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I want it out. And the other question that I had was, so we approved this policy in October. Did we actually send the directory notification?
No.
Okay, so I'd like to ask, once this change is made, that it gets sent
I
out.
don't think it was sent right now.
FERPA information?
Yeah. I don't think it ended.
Probably not, because it usually goes at the beginning of the school year, doesn't it?
But we didn't make the policy until afterwards, and we talked at the time about once it was approved that.
I'll check it. I'll check it.
Go out.
I'll check. I thought
I'll
the
check my
policy,
parent
I thought
email.
it was. I'll check. I thought it was sent out.
Was
for
it?
FERPA. Yeah, I'll go back and check. But I thought because it was a new policy, we then sent it out.
No, we didn't start sending out new policies until
This would have been
later.
different. This is the FERPA letter versus the policy.
Yeah. This is
Well,
the-
we can
Right,
check
I'll-
offline.
I'll check.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'll make a motion
Okay.
to do whatever Jim just said.
I'll second it.
Right, so what does that mean going forward? Then?
Means
So-
going forward, that date and place of birth would not be directory information.
But do we go back now and take everything?
Yeah.
No.
I-
it's-
Well, it's not, no, I mean,
No,
directory
the
information is what
district
someone's gonna
can still
request
have
from
it,
you,
right.
so if someone requested from the date it's approved by the school committee forward, you wouldn't give that information.
Right.
If someone's already requested it 6 months ago and they got it, well, then they got it.
Right.
Why was that in directory anyways?
I swore that we talked about
I am looking
this,
right now.
and that we
I
took
bet
it
you,
out.
I bet you it's in the federal, I bet you it's in the old federal
It
forms.
must be
I
listed.
bet
It
it
must have
is.
been listed somewhere in order
Yep.
for that
Just
to go
I
in the
thought that
policy.
we checked this against what was currently in Aspen when we worked on this policy.
We did, because
And
I
that
remember
the
pulling it up.
date of birth was not one of them.
No, not date of birth, the other one.
I mean, place of birth.
I don't think it is, because
I know, I've never seen.
I don't remember seeing my kids' place of birth. Let me see.
birthday.
Okay.
Okay, so. can
So
I get
I'm
a
happy
vote
to
on
remove the
this?
language. Yep, alright. Are you good on what we're voting on?
Okay, so we're gonna make a motion to pull date and place of birth out of directory information
In the policy.
in the policy. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then the other thing was on the inclement weather policy. Where is it? So when we did the policy, we said that for recess, parents and guardians' responsibility to ensure their children come to school dressed appropriately for the weather. But I think in practice, like what's actually happening is, according to what I see on the newsletters, is that the newsletters say if a student is not appropriately dressed, they will not be able to play outside, and that's not really what the policy says. So I just want to clarify that.
I think you also need clarification about like what is appropriate dress, because my definition of what's appropriately dressed for my kids versus
Right.
what the
Somebody
schools
else's
are could be
is-
different.
Yes.
Like I could be cool with them not having a hat,
Right.
but the school might want them to have a hat.
Right.
Like so I think we just have to clarify that a bit. I also think we have to clarify. No, that would be I was just gonna say like they still are entitled to recess. Like that's the part.
Right, and it doesn't really say that.
By
here.
law they are,
Right.
right?
Right. But it doesn't.
Well, it doesn't really say that in this. So what are we, the yellow part is what you are looking at?
Yeah, I just want to know, like, because again, what this says is we're just saying it's your responsibility, but it's not saying your child will not be able to go outside if they don't come with those things.
Well, I think if a student doesn't have a jacket on and it's really cold out, I think it might be best that they not go outside, right?
Well, I think I
But
don't.
there's rules around at what temperature they're allowed to go outside for recess.
True.
Right.
But you're
That's what
talking
they
about what clothing they're wearing to be able to go out for recess.
If a student has a T-shirt on though, and has nothing else, and it's
You'll
it's
still
warm
get
enough to
recess,
be
but
outside.
they'll get indoor recess.
Yeah, you know
But
what
I think
mean?
it needs to say that, because like Erin said, like appropriately dressed, well, my kid won't wear a jacket, but you're saying, the schools are saying that if children are not appropriately dressed, they won't be able to play outside, and that's not what this policy says, and I don't care either way, I just think that they need to be in alignment, so what we're
So we
doing.
want to say something about schools may restrict students, I'm just thinking out loud here, schools may place restrictions on students' access to outdoor activities in the event that clothing is not suitable for the weather, something along those lines.
Something like that, yeah.
Does that
Can
sound
you
all
say
right?
that again? No,
Yeah.
I'll get it off the tape, it's fine. Yeah, no, I think it just needs to say.
Yeah, just something where we have, schools can exercise, well, you know what I just
Yeah,
said, whatever it
discretion
was.
regarding.
They can just
clothing.
exercise discretion when it comes to students' clothing being suitable for the weather outside.
Is wind chill the same as feels like?
I kind of equate them the same. I'm not sure if it's actually the same.
Should
but
we
that's how I
change
look
that
at it.
language too, because I think what's going around is it says
Feels
feels
like.
like and not wind chill, just to be like clear and consistent.
Yeah, but feels like is much less clear and consistent.
Feels like
than-
/ wind chill. How about that?
I'm just saying, and again, I always try to play worst case scenario,
Yeah.
right? A parent's mad that their kid hasn't gone out for recess in 2 weeks, and the principal says, "Well, it feels like it's below 20," and the parent comes in with a document that says, "No, like it hasn't
wind
been."
chill, right,
But they
yeah.
like, "Well, it feels like that." You know, like that to me, like makes our administrators open to. I don't like when there's that gray.
Yeah.
But I also don't. I also believe and trust the principals
Yeah.
and the school professionals on when it's
Why
perfect.
don't we just
outside
say
or not.
temperature under 20?
I guarantee you, if it's warm enough for them to be outside, they kick them outside.
Yeah. They want.
That
I
is
don't-
not what I experience personally.
Oh, really?
They're in more than I'm surprised sometimes when they're in, which is again I defer to the professionals in the building on what's best for their school, but that's not the case for.
Okay, so let's. I mean,
Ken suggested literally putting the
Just
temperature if
temperature.
it's below 20.
Only because I'm going to a document that we were passing around.
Most of the
So
principals have a
superintendents were
little
passing around
chart in their
these.
room,
All right.
in their
We did, and
offices
it
on
says
the wall.
temperature.
and I'll
That
admin
says-
council this for our next week. So
Okay, so temperature, not wind chill?
Yeah, just change it to temperature.
So not feels like if it's below 20, no. If it's above 20,
Temperature.
yes. Even if it's wailing winds and horrifying out.
Temperature's
Yeah,
below 20.
Got it. And then
Otherwise, there's too much gray going on.
for appropriate dress, I'm thinking about the opposite of this too. Like our students not being allowed out if they have a sweatshirt on when it's 80 degrees out. You know, because this isn't just about cold weather. It's because it mentions sunscreen, and not in a I defer to the schools, but
Yeah,
What's
like
a way
my
that we
kids will
can-
wear hoodies when it's 90, and I'm like, what is your problem? Like, so I mean, technically that would not be appropriately dressed.
I think we're talking at a school level. Wintertime, it's cold. That's when we're saying the child may not be able to go outside because they don't have enough clothing on to be warm while they're out there. I don't think during hot weather we're keeping kids in if they're coming in because they want to wear a
which are
sweatshirt.
overdressed.
I think we just need to really worry about wintertime and what we're saying is
See if
appropriate,
there's
not
like-
appropriate. But the problem is we're going down a rabbit hole of what's appropriate, not appropriate. Because Erin already stated she's okay if for her,
No, I would like my kid to have a jacket for the record.
jacket.
What he
but-
wants is different.
Yeah, but if you were
Yeah, like
if you're
it's
into something
it's
like a hat,
subjective.
right?
Appropriate is
It's like a hat or not a hat, and that's
What is
like,
appropriate weather
I think
here?
what we send our children to school in, right? That's our decision as their parent, guardian. At the school level, I mean, if a children comes in with no coat and it's 30 degrees out, that's where we're like, it's too cold for you to be out there. It's not safe. It's not safe or healthy for you to be outside if you have no coat on.
Is it though? Like
Uh,
that's what. No, I know. I'm not trying to be
I think
persnickety, but like
we're
that's the
kind of
question.
getting. I think
I think the challenge is that the schools are they're making it more stringent than what the policy is. And so like where the policy says 20 degrees, students can go out. But then they're in a common sense way saying appropriate gear. And I think there has to be some like definition of what that might be.
Well-
And it might be at the handbook level or it might be at the school level, but like I think they need to define that. Like appropriate gear at Stony Lane is
I mean, we also
a
tell them
coat.
that they can't go out and they're not allowed to go play in the snow physically, like jump in a snowbank if they have snow boots and gloves on, because now their feet are going to get wet if they don't have snow boots and their hands are going to get cold, and you're dealing into.
Can I ask this question? Is this something that we need to like fix tonight? Because I think this would make for, my point is this could be an admin council topic, and I could come back with a more consensus.
Yeah, my thought in trying to address it tonight is we don't meet again until March, and we've got the entire month of February where there's a disconnect, at least between
Has a
like, where we're
concern
not
been
saying
brought
that
forward
kids are not
regarding
being
this?
sent. What?
Or has there been a concern brought forward regarding us using the word appropriate?
No, it's not. I didn't bring it forward because of the appropriate. I brought it forward because the policy doesn't say that kids will not be allowed outside, and that's the communication that's going out from school. So to me, that's the important part to clarify immediately, is that, you know, regardless of what appropriate is, like, if you don't come, the kids will be held back if they don't have.
And if you just add a sentence to Rob's point that says, it is the parents and guardians' responsibility to ensure that their children come to school dressed appropriately for their weather. If determined by school administration not to have appropriate gear, they will be provided recess inside.
As determined by administration. And
I would
that's
say
usually
whether
because-
appropriate gear.
Yeah. And then, Rob, if you want to work with your principals on, like, what's the expectation and what makes sense, I do think consistency helps.
Yes.
Like, but also, like, that to me is like an admin level thing, but I do think like, you don't want to get in a fight with a parent being like, you're not letting my kid out. Like, that's where I think we need
100%, yeah. Agreed.
Right, so Jen added the language.
I typed it in there, but that's not what it is. I'm going to go back and pull the actual sentence.
that
But
makes
it'll
more
basically say, like, administration has the discretion to keep a child for indoor recess if you know they don't have the right clothes. Okay. Okay, so
And then, like,
I will
obviously we
make
should
a
be
motion
able to
to
get rid of
move that change
like,
forward.
Yes.
Yeah, there's not sending it and then
There's why there's
can't send
always a
it.
lot of
there's a lot of nuance there.
yeah. There's always a lot of individual circumstances that come into this.
Alright, so Jen, do you want a motion to move that forward?
Yeah, I made the motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
I-
Okay. Okay. Okay, I guess that's it. For the next meeting, we will continue with the ones that we have on here. And Ken, any idea when you'll be ready to talk about the GCB ones?
I mean, people keep asking. We have so many things we're working on right now. I do not know when.
I'm going to leave it like this. When you are ready,
And that's what I
let
told
me
them.
know,
I need some time.
and
I
I will
think-
add.
yeah.
Okay.
I think it needs to take some priority over, but we also have some other policies we're working on top of other things we're doing. So.
Okay, I'm just, when you're ready. let
Jen's
me know.
going on the record that it's not her fault it's not on.
No, but
That's
it's-
it. I'm hearing you, Jen. I'm just saying. I'll call it what it is. It is noted. Let's move
Too
on.
much, okay.
Don't
all
blame
right.
Jen.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all.